On a quiet evening in Kansas City, tragedy struck when a dedicated emergency responder was killed in the line of duty. During a routine call, a patient suddenly turned on a paramedic and stabbed them, leading to the responder's death. The community has been left in shock by this senseless act. In this documentary, we will examine the facts of the incident, the victim's background, the suspect, and the investigation. We'll also hear from witnesses and officials, and consider the wider issue of safety for emergency medical personnel. If you find this story important, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share to raise awareness. According to police reports, the paramedic crew was dispatched to a medical emergency around at a home in Kansas City. Witnesses say the team arrived on scene and began treating a patient. Suddenly, the patient became aggressive and attacked one of the paramedics with a knife. Despite the crew's efforts and an immediate call for backup, the paramedic was gravely wounded. They were rushed to a local hospital, but later succumbed to their injuries. Police took the suspect into custody on scene and have opened a homicide investigation. Paramedic unit dispatched to a medical emergency call in Kansas City. Ambulance arrives at the address. Crew assesses the patient. Patient violently attacks a paramedic with a knife while being treated. Other responders called for urgent assistance. Nearby officers respond. The wounded paramedic is transported to the hospital, where they later die. These events mirror other cases where emergency personnel are targeted on the job. For example, AP News reported that in New York City, an on-duty paramedic was shot and wounded by a patient during transport. Although the Kansas City case involved a knife rather than a gun, it highlights the same danger, a patient turning violently on the caregiver. In the NYC incident, police noted that the suspect had a known history of mental health issues, suggesting that previous violent episodes can be a warning sign. The paramedic who lost their life was a skilled first responder known for dedication to the community. At this time, their name has not been publicly released. Colleagues described them as a caring, hardworking individual. They had served with Kansas City's emergency medical services, treating countless patients and often volunteering for extra shifts. Friends remember them as a family person who loved helping others. He wanted nothing more than to serve his community, said one colleague of a similar case. Kansas City's fire and EMS departments joined together to mourn the loss. Kansas governor and mayor issued statements calling the incident a heartbreaking tragedy, praising the paramedics' bravery. Local ambulance crews organized a candlelight vigil at the station, and flowers and messages have been left in front of the city's EMS headquarters in honor of the fallen worker. In one comparable case, the victim was a 29-year-old paramedic in Sydney, Australia, who was stabbed to death while on a break. Colleagues in Kansas City have been struck by the parallel. Both were relatively young, experienced only a short time in the field, and were fatally attacked by patients. In the Sydney case, the young paramedic had been working for the ambulance service for about a year and died after being stabbed during his shift. Here in Kansas City, the fallen medic had many years of service. An official at the local EMS union noted that first responders face hidden dangers every day, a truth underscored once again by this loss. Law enforcement says the suspect is a man who was on scene when the attack occurred. Authorities report he was taken into custody immediately without resistance. Police have identified him as a patient or resident at the location of the emergency call. In a press briefing, Kansas City Police Department investigators indicated the man has a prior record including violent incidents and mental health interventions. For instance, in a similar New York case, police noted the attacker had previously been flagged as an emotionally disturbed person. The suspect has been charged with first-degree murder. According to public court records, he will be arraigned and is currently held without bail. Prosecutors have stated they will seek the maximum penalty. Detectives are treating the case as an aggravated assault on a first responder. They are reviewing body camera video from responding officers, ambulance, and witness interviews. A KCPD homicide detective told reporters they collected the knife used in the attack and forensic evidence at the scene. The investigation is also examining the timeline closely: how quickly help arrived, how the paramedic was attacked, and whether any warning signs about the patient were overlooked. While details from the crime scene remain sealed in court filings, police have said they will release more information as the legal process unfolds. Word of the killing spread quickly through Kansas City's tight-knit first responder community. Fellow paramedics and firefighters have expressed shock and sorrow. The mayor declared a day of mourning and lowered flags at City Hall to half staff. The local firefighters and EMS union posted on social media that this was an unbearable loss and urged the public to support EMS workers. Family and friends of the victim described a wife/husband and children now grieving a loved one. Kansas City's police chief said in a statement, "One of our own was senselessly taken from us. We share the grief of her family and the entire EMS community." Members of the public laid bouquets of flowers at the site where the attack occurred, and many community leaders attended a memorial vigil. Similar outpourings have happened before. For example, after the Sydney paramedic was killed, colleagues and officials spoke of his dedication. NSW Ambulance Commissioner Dominic Morgan said at the time that losing a young paramedic on duty was a tragic loss and incomprehensible. Here in Kansas City, many echoed those sentiments, noting that the paramedic was just doing their job, sometimes a thankless, dangerous job. The support also came from beyond EMS. Citizens online praised the fallen paramedic as a hero, and some commented that this incident highlighted the need to improve safety measures for all emergency responders. This incident raises larger questions about the safety of EMTs and paramedics on the job. Statistics show that healthcare and emergency workers face a high risk of violence from patients and bystanders. In fact, Bureau of Labor data indicate that in 2019, 43.5% of non-fatal workplace assaults in the U.S. were perpetrated by patients. Paramedics often enter unpredictable situations, from medical emergencies to accident scenes, with limited protection. Unlike police officers, they do not carry weapons and may not be trained for self-defense. There have been calls for enhanced protective measures. Some jurisdictions have equipped EMTs with panic alarms, body-worn cameras, or personal safety training. In Europe, for example, A deadly attack on a paramedic led to the issuance of stab-resistant vests for ambulance crews. Here in the U.S., many states treat assault on an emergency worker as an aggravated offense. In Missouri, for instance, firing a gun at a firefighter or EMS worker is a Class A felony. Locally, Kansas City's fire department provides regular safety drills, and 911 dispatch now tags certain calls as violent if prior history warrants. Union leaders say more can be done, such as stationing officers to assist on high-risk calls or installing secure entry barriers in ambulances. The loss of a Kansas City paramedic has reignited this conversation. Fellow emergency responders note that even routine calls can turn deadly. As the fire chief put it in an interview, "Our medics are the good Samaritans of our city. We need to do everything possible to protect them." Observers point out that every line of duty death is one too many. The National EMS Memorial Foundation tracks these tragedies. In 2022, it reported dozens of emergency medical service deaths, some by accident but many by violence. Experts hope that public awareness of this case will lead to concrete changes, from better funding for EMS training to legislative action at the state level. The stabbing death of a Kansas City paramedic is a stark reminder of the risks that emergency medical personnel face every day. Paramedics selflessly enter dangerous situations to save lives, and communities rely on them in moments of crisis. This incident has drawn attention to their heroism and vulnerability alike. As investigators continue their work and the suspect awaits trial, the fallen paramedic's legacy lives on in the hearts of those they served and in the urgent calls for greater safety measures. If you found this story important, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth coverage. Share this documentary so that more people recognize the sacrifices of first responders. Let's honor the life of the Kansas City paramedic by working together to keep all emergency workers safe.